It was a sunny afternoon when Sandra Bullock walked into a high-end real estate office in downtown Los Angeles. She had recently sold her old property and was now looking for a new home. The real estate market had been tough, but Sandra was hopeful that she would find something that fit her needs. She had heard good things about this particular agent, a woman named Rachel, who had a reputation for being sharp and efficient. However, from the moment Sandra walked through the door, something didn't feel quite right. Rachel, sitting behind the desk, looked up and gave Sandra a once-over, barely hiding the judgment in her eyes. "So, you're Sandra Bullock," Rachel said, her tone dripping with a mixture of disbelief and skepticism. "I suppose you're used to getting the best treatment everywhere you go." Sandra felt a slight discomfort in the air. "I'm just here to find a home," Sandra replied, trying to keep the conversation professional. "I'm sure you'll be able to help me." But Rachel's attitude didn't improve. "Oh, I'm sure I can," she said, leaning back in her chair and giving Sandra a condescending smile. "But I'm not sure you'll be able to afford what you want. You know, real estate isn't like Hollywood, things aren't always as easy as they seem." Sandra's face tightened, but she remained composed. She was used to this kind of treatment. People often assumed she had everything handed to her because of her fame. Where are you watching this intense story unfold? Let us know in the comments below. Rachel led Sandra into the conference room, where she pulled up a list of properties on her computer. As she clicked through them, Sandra could tell that Rachel wasn't even trying to make an effort. Every time Sandra pointed out a potential property, Rachel would dismiss it with a snarky remark. "That one's too small for someone like you," Rachel would say. "That one's in the wrong neighborhood. You won't be happy there." Sandra began to feel more and more uncomfortable. This wasn't the experience she had hoped for when she decided to hire a real estate agent. "I think I'll look at some other options," Sandra said, trying to remain polite. "I appreciate your time, but this isn't really working out." But before Sandra could leave, Rachel smirked. "Of course it isn't," she said, her voice dripping with disdain. "You Hollywood people always think you can just buy whatever you want. But you'll never find a place that's good enough for you, will you?" Sandra's face flushed with anger, but she refused to let Rachel see how much the word stung. As she stood up to leave, she heard the door to the office open behind her. To her surprise, a tall figure walked in. It was Clint Eastwood, who had just happened to be passing by. He had been in the area for a meeting and had decided to stop in. When he saw Sandra standing there, clearly uncomfortable, he didn't hesitate. "Is everything okay?" Clint asked, his deep voice filled with concern. Rachel, caught off guard, quickly put on a smile. "Oh, everything's fine," she said, but there was an edge to her voice. "Just showing Ms. Bullock some properties." Clint, however, wasn't fooled. He could see that Sandra was upset. "I'm not sure that's the case," he said, his tone growing more serious. Have you ever encountered someone who treated you unfairly? Let us know in the comments below. Clint turned his full attention to Rachel, and for the first time, she seemed to lose her composure. "You know, it's not often that I see someone act this way," Clint said, his gaze cold but not unkind. "Sandra here is looking for a place to call home, not to be judged by someone who's supposed to help her." Rachel's face went pale, and she shifted uncomfortably in her seat. I didn't mean anything by it," she stammered, but Clint wasn't having any of it. "You think because Sandra is famous, she doesn't deserve respect? You think she's some kind of stereotype that can't handle a tough market?" Clint's voice grew sharper with each word. Rachel opened her mouth to respond but quickly closed it when she realized she had no defense. Sandra, still standing near the door, couldn't believe what she was hearing. Clint was defending her, and not just in a casual way, he was standing up for her with the same unwavering intensity he was known for in his films. "I think you need to reconsider your attitude," Clint continued, his voice calm but filled with authority. If you want to keep working in this business, you need to treat people with the respect they deserve. Asterisk, what would you have done in Clint's shoes? Let us know in the comments below, asterisk. Rachel stood there in stunned silence, clearly humiliated. She had never expected someone to stand up to her the way Clint had. Sandra, still processing the situation, felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. She had been insulted and belittled, but Clint's arrival had changed everything. For the first time in the meeting, Sandra felt truly supported. Rachel, her face now bright red, cleared her throat awkwardly. I apologize, Ms. Bullock, she said, her voice barely audible. I didn't mean to be disrespectful. Sandra stood still for a moment, considering her response. She had every right to be angry, but she wasn't interested in adding fuel to the fire. Instead, she gave Rachel a calm, composed look. I'm not here to be disrespected, Rachel. If you can't offer me the professionalism I deserve, I'll take my business elsewhere. With that, Sandra turned to Clint and smiled. Thank you, Clint. I appreciate you stepping in. Clint smiled back, his expression softening. No problem, Sandra. It's important to stand up for what's right. As Sandra walked out of the office, Clint followed her to the door. Before she left, he turned back to Rachel one last time. Next time, treat people like you would want to be treated, Clint said, his voice low but firm. Asterisk, what do you think Rachel learned from this experience? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, asterisk. Later that evening, Sandra received an unexpected call from Clint. Sandra, I wanted to make sure you're okay, he said, his voice warm and genuine. That was uncalled for, and I just wanted to check in. Sandra felt a sense of relief as she heard his voice. Thank you, Clint. That was really kind of you, she replied. I'm doing fine now, but it's not every day that someone like you steps in and makes a difference. Clint chuckled. Well, sometimes we all need a little help, no matter who we are. Sandra smiled, feeling grateful for the kindness Clint had shown her. I'm glad you were there today, she said. You really helped me out. Clint paused for a moment before replying. If you need anything else, don't hesitate to call. And I'm sure you'll find the right place to call home, no matter what. With that, they both said their goodbyes, and Sandra hung up the phone, feeling a renewed sense of confidence. As for Rachel, she spent the rest of the day reflecting on her behavior and wondering how she could do better in the future. Sometimes, all it takes is one moment to change a person's perspective. If you're inspired by this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to keep up with more amazing stories like this one. Let me know if you need more stories.